Namaste, everybody. Welcome back to Soundarya Lahari Sadhana. Today, we are exploring a new verse number 26. This is a continuation of a couple verses that we have seen so far. It is still about Srishti, Sthiti, Samhara, but it is an interesting component added to it. What happens after Srishti, Sthiti, Samhara? So it's talking about that pralayam, Mahā Samhara or Mahā Pralaya. So we'll see, and it has such significance in our life because usually what we think about is, oh, this is about Brahma, this is about Vishnu, nothing to relate to me, but this very much relate to us. So we'll see what is that significance in our own life from this verse. Yonta pravishya mama vājamimāṃ prasuptāṃ sanjīvayatyakila shakti-dharasvatāṃ anyāṃśca hastacharana shravanatvakārtīṃ prāṇān namo bhagavate puruṣāya tubhyam. Om Shri Matre Namah. May Devi's blessings be with you all always. We will explore a new verse, which is verse number 26 today. And this is a continuation of what the same theme Śaṅkarācārya has started with a couple verses earlier, where he started with Srishti, Sthiti, Samharam, and Tirodharam and Anugraham. There was Panchakritya Parayana, that is what Devi is known as. So we saw the detailed on what these functions are, cosmic acts are. And then last week, we saw what the trigunas are. From the triguna, the sattva, rajas, tamas, these three gunas, Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara, has originated. And they are the ones who is doing the Srishti, Sthiti, and Samhara. So Brahma is the manifestation of Rajogunam, and Vishnu is the manifestation of Sattvagunam, and Rudra is the manifestation of Tamoguna. We saw that in the last verse. And this new verse, verse 26, is now talking about opposite of the verse number 1, which was Śiva Shaktya Yukto Yadi Bhavati Shakta Prabhavidum Naje Devam Devo Na Khalu Kushala Spantidumabi. So that one talk about when Shiva and Shakti are united, the process creates the entire universe. And this particular shloka talk about what happens when the entire manifested universe go back to unmanifest. Virinchi panchatvam prajati harirapnoti viratim vinasham kinasho bhajati dhanado yati nidhanam vitantri mahendri vidadati rapi sammilita drisha mahasamharesmin viharati sati tvatpati rasa. The most important line in this one is the last one. Mahasamharesmin viharati sati tvatpati rasa. Tvatpati, your pati, your husband. Sati, it's addressing the word sati. We'll talk about the importance of the word sati. So your pati is doing the viharati. Viharati is reveling or enjoying or dancing around. When during Mahasamharesmin, during that Mahā Pralaya time, Mahasamhara time, your pati alone is reveling. Your pati is the only one who is remaining, who is existing. So let's go back. What else happens during Mahasamharesmin? First one, Virinchi Panchatvam. Virinchi, we already know that it is Lord Brahma. Virinchi Panchatvam. Panchatvam means separating into 5 elements. So Panchatvam, literal meaning is separating into 5 elements. So that is used for death. So when death happens, what happens to our physical body? Physical body disintegrate and get into the elements. The air content goes into Vayu Tattvam. The water content in us goes to Jala Tattvam. Then Agni Tattvam merge into Agni. And all these Panchatattvam disintegrate and do the layam into the universal Panchatattvam, the bigger Panchatattvam. So that actual meaning is the death. So Virinjit Panchatvam Vrajati. During the Mahā Samharesmin, Brahma also is reduced into 5 elements. Hari Rapnodi Viratim. It is Harihi Viratim Apnodi. So what happens to Hari, Vishnu? Vishnu Viratim. Viratim means retires. So Hari also retires into inaction, inactivity. So Hari is the one who is doing the sustenance. So now he stops everything. Everything is ending. We are ready to take the curtain down. So then Hari also retires during that time. The next is Vinasham Kinasho. Very beautiful word play here. Kinasho is Lord Yama, the Andagat. Lord Yama, he also bhajati Vinasham. Vinasham means also end. So during Mahasamharisman, Mahā Pralayam time, Lord of Death, which is Yama, also meet his end. Who's next? Dhanado Yati Nithana. Dhanadaha. Dhanada is Kubera, Lord of Wealth. What happens to him? Nithanam. Nithanam is without wealth, without riches, right? So the Lord of Wealth also becomes bankrupt during that time. Vidantri Mahendri. Mahendri Vidati is a group of gods, including Indra. During a time called Manvantara, we will talk what is Manvantara and all. During each Manvantara, we have a set of governing gods, including Indra, the Saptarshis, Manu, then Devas. So each one, it is kind of a cabinet. So during that time, they are ruling, right? So that Mahendri Vidati, that group of gods with Mahendra, and they also, Vidantri, they also kind of becomes ineffective. How Sammilita Drisha. Sammilita means, actually literal meaning is half closed eyes. Sammilita means closed, Unmilita means open. So here they are Mahendri and Vidati, the whole group of gods and rishis, they are doing the Sammilita Drisha. They are closing their eyes and retiring. They become ineffective. During when? Mahasamharesme. So during that time, all these things happen. But during that time, only one person exists. Viharati Sati Tvatpati Rasau. So Asau Tvatpati. So he, your Pati alone exists during that great dissolution, during that great Pralaya, Mahā Pralayam time. So let's look into the entire meaning. O Sati, so Devi, so far Devi has been used different names. Devi, Shakti, Bhavani. But this is the first time the word Sati is used and there is significance to it. In this sloka, even Bhagavad Gita and many other slokas, there is a context-sensitive name is used. For example, Krishna has a lot of name, but the last week we saw some verse where Krishna is called Rishikesha. Rishika, Isha means the Isha of Rishika, Isha of senses. So that particular verse is needed to use that Indriya-related word. So hence that name. So here, Sati is used for a context. So we'll come to that context later. But here it's addressed to Devi as Sati. Sati is a devoted wife of Shiva, devoted consort of Shiva. During the time of great dissolution, during Mahā Pralayam, Brahma is reduced to the 5 elements. He accepts the Panchatvam. Vishnu retires into inactivity. Yama, the Lord of Death, meets his end. Kubera, Lord of Wealth, loses his riches. And Indra, along with other gods, become ineffective with half-closed eyes. Yet, your spouse Shiva continues to revel with you even amidst that great dissolution. I thought it will be a good idea to use Shiva as a title, so I use the word, the eternal Shiva here, because during the Mahā Pralayam, everything disappears. The only one thing that is remaining is Shiva. That is because here, Śaṅkarācārya being Śaṅkarācārya and also this being Soundarya Lahari has to say that the reason why Shiva only remains is because of you, Devi, because he's your Pati and because of your characteristics as Sati, who is a Pativrata. Because of your Pativratyam, he remains. He doesn't have an end. He doesn't have a death, right? So there is a poem in Malayalam that says, you are Sumankali, because he's Mrityunjaya, or he's Mrityunjaya because you are Sumangali. So it doesn't know which one. It's a chicken or egg situation. Here in this verse says, he is Mrityunjaya, he is existing, eternally present because of you, Devi. But then the Kavi is saying in that poem that she's Sumangali because he's Mrityunjaya, right? Sumangali means the one who always has a pati. But we have to unpack a lot of things in this verse, right? So let's start with time. When we say the eternal Shiva only exists, the first of all, we have to establish entire scriptures says we are that eternal Shiva. Tattvamasi says that we are that, right? But we don't have that experience right now. But it keeps telling that we are that eternal Shiva, which is not changing, which doesn't have time limitation or space limitation. So when we talk about eternal, we have to talk through what do we mean by eternal, right? In our limited mind, we think that the moment now exists, and there is an infinite time that is before now called past, and there is an infinite time after now, it's called future, and Shiva exists in past and now and future. That's not true. That's not how it goes. So when we say past and present, we already established there is time. So Shiva is timeless. Shiva and Shakti are timeless, beyond time limitation, beyond space limitation. So they don't have time. So eternal actually doesn't mean that eternally lasting, everlasting. It's not that what it means. It means eternally present, that now, which doesn't have a beginning, which doesn't have an end. It is now that he is present, right? And we are that eternal Shiva. And the way that we understand then Shiva and Shakti and this Prapancham is that two things happens to this eternal Shiva that we are talking. There is two possibilities. Happening is a wrong word. Two processes are manifestation and unmanifest. Unmanifest is what we are talking in this verse. And the verse number 1, Shiva Shaktya Yukto Yati Bhavadi Shakta Prabhavitum Naje Devam Devo Nakhalu Kushala Spantitum Abhi, talked about that manifestation. When Shiva and Shakti are united, then manifestation happens. So that's the red on the right is about the manifestation. The white on the left is the unmanifest. But one thing that a couple verses back, we saw that she looks like she has stolen the body of Shiva, but Shiva is behind. That eternal Shiva is behind, even when we see that the red colored Devi. So if I remove that manifestation, underlying Tattvam will be the unmanifest eternal Shiva. So there is no two, even though the manifestation and unmanifestation keep happening, Shiva is the underlying truth, whether there is manifestation or unmanifested. Shiva is the underlying truth in both, right? So now how do we understand this, right? Like where Shiva is staying as eternal, unmanifested being, how do we understand this? So this is understood in many of the scriptures. The Advaita Vedānta uses a lot of examples for us to understand that concept. The one of them is using the waves in an ocean. The waves continuously come and then waves return back to ocean. Srishti of waves happen, sthiti of, for sometimes waves stay, and then samharam of waves happen. But this happens within the ocean. And that wave is nothing but ocean. So there is no separate thing as waves. The content of ocean, the content of waves are water. So the essence is water. There's nothing different from Shiva that is manifested. So whatever we see as manifestation is also Shiva, right? It's just that manifestation has a beginning, a maintenance time, and then end. For anything that manifested has a beginning and end. The other example that brilliantly used is the screen where the things are projected. So let's say the movie screen. In that, it's a pure white screen. There's nothing in it, right? When the light passes through the film, the character appear on the screen. The screen is always available. So the screen doesn't change, right? But the characters appear on the screen and characters disappear. So let's say that movie is a 2-hour movie. Then movie has many characters. The many characters appear, disappear. The movie itself, the whole movie itself, appear and disappear. But even when the movie is happening, even when the manifestation is happening, the screen is there without any change. The red colored character doesn't color that white screen into red. The water of the ocean in that movie doesn't wet the screen. So nothing happens to the screen. Screen is eternal, like Shiva. So that's how we should understand the manifestation and unmanifestation. So Shiva is eternal. So within that eternal Shiva, within that eternal ocean, the waves appear and we all appear. Everything, every being, everything that including this whole universe appear within that Shiva that is not changing. So that's how we need to understand it. I know it is very difficult to wrap our head around that idea, but we are that Shiva, which means unmanifested eternal Shiva. And within that eternal Shiva, the body is born, and then the body will be gone one day. The mind is born, mind will be gone one day, but then it will be reborn. Like the waves are coming, it will be coming back. So, but we are not ending. Just like the verse earlier mentioned, Mahā Samharesmin Viharati Sadit Tvat Padirasau, we are not ending. So that's how we understand. So eternal Shiva doesn't have a beginning or end. Shiva and Shakti doesn't have a beginning or end. However, anything that is manifested has a beginning and end. Just like the wave has a beginning, wave has an end. Whether it is a long wave, big wave, doesn't matter. It has a beginning and end. Similarly, the movie has a beginning and an end. The whole movie has a beginning and end. And also the characters within the movie has a beginning and end. So how do we understand that? Every day, our Jagrat Avastha, when it comes, and when in the Sushupti, we are ending. And then the next Jagrat Avastha comes, then a small Pralaya happens, and when we are sleeping, it ends. So this beginning and end in a smaller scale happens, and then at the end of our lifetime, our body also disappears. However, one thing that doesn't end is we, ourself, our Atma, the Ishvara, that is us. We don't end. And that is the exact same thing that is mentioned as a first topic in Bhagavad Gita. Because death is something that everybody is afraid of. Our own death and death of our loved ones. So that's why Krishna chose to address that one as the first thing when he's giving the advice to Arjuna. We are the eternal Atma. The Atma never dies. Atma cannot be killed. No matter how hard you try with a sword, by thinking, nothing can kill Atma. The body, it has a beginning and it has an end, right? We are not the body. We are not the mind. We are not the prana. We are that eternal Atma. I know we haven't understood that yet, but first establish that base, right? So here, Nisargadatta Maharaj, right? How he attained enlightenment is that in his interview, he says that I just trusted my guru. So Guru told me that I'm eternal Atma, and I just trusted that. So there is no sadhana, there is nothing that he did. He realized. So that's why Śaṅkarācārya and all the rishis, all that sages of Bharatavarsha is telling us that we are that Atma. If we trust their words, we could get enlightenment, right? So this is an important element. So this is nothing to do with Brahma, nothing to do with the mountain, nothing to do with the ocean outside, nothing to do with the movie. This is pertaining to us. My Swarupa, right? So we are that eternal Atma, because the fear is because that we will end, we are ending, right? So when we understand that we are that Atma, which doesn't have a death, the body comes and goes, right? That is just like the cloth is removed when it is worn out. At the end of the cycle, when it is ready, it sheds the body. That's pretty much it. Can you imagine a situation where nobody dies? Okay, the world will be filled with like really, really old people. So it is a natural progression in life, cycle in life. So death is nothing that we should be afraid of. So the similar concept that here Shankaracharya is also introducing. So even the Brahma, Vishnu, and Yama. Yama is known as the Lord of Death, right? He's the one who comes when our time's up, right? He also has a death. And now let's look into what is the concept in our scriptures. What's the concept of time? So we already established Shiva is timeless. There is no time. The time doesn't exist. And there is a beautiful video by Rupert Spira, who is the Advaita Vedantin, about the concept of time. I'll send it to you. So he beautifully explained, so I don't have to explain, and I would never be able to. So I'll send you the video. Within the manifested one, there is time. So there is a beginning and there is time. And how do we understand that timing? So the time or kala that it's told in the scriptures, this is understood in multiple units. I'll just touch on it because this is just for curiosity purpose. It doesn't serve much purpose. There are smaller units of time, there are human time, and then there are bigger units of time. So let's start with the smaller unit of time. The example will be Truti, Lava, Unmani. So they are much, much smaller, like micro, nano kind of seconds are those smaller units. And those are mentioned in tantric textbooks when people are in a deep meditation, what they feel is those kind of moments, right? Then comes what we are more familiar with, Nimisham, Chanam, Divam, Paksham, Masam, Varsham, things like that. Nimisham and Chanam are the fraction of seconds. Divam is Divasam, day, 24 hours. Paksham is 15 days. Masam is the month, 130 days, 30 or 31, depending on the calendar we are using. The Varsham is the 365 days, which is a year. So that is the kind of human time. Then cosmic time. The reason why I'm talking about these are because it talks about Brahma's time. And Brahma's time is not our time, right? Brahma also has duration. Brahma stays for 100 years, but Brahma's 100 year is not the same as our 100 year. So in order to go there, let's talk about cosmic time or Yuga scheme. So we know, we already mentioned that the time is not linear in these scriptures. And again, this is the Puranic view. So I don't know how to verify these. These are listed in Bhagavata Purana. We already established that it's a cyclic in nature, not linear. And each time these things repeat. So Yugam, the Mahayuga, Manvantara, all these things repeat itself after the Pralaya. Between each of these, the time scheme, there is a small Pralaya, and then everything ends when the Brahma's time span ends, then there is Mahā Pralaya. So that is during the time that is mentioned in this verse, that during the Mahā Samharam or Mahā Pralayam time, Shiva, the eternal Shiva, is the only one that exists. So let's look into the time. So we have 4 yugas. You all know that. Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, and the Kali Yuga. We are in the Kali Yuga. So Kali Yuga is the shortest of time span among the 4. And this 4 yuga combined, it's only 4 million years. Bhagavata Puranas talk about this. So this 4 yuga combined will be more than 4 million years. Once 4 yuga finishes, it's called the Mahayuga. 71 of that Mahayuga is called one Manvantara. And 14 of that Manvantara is called one Kalpa, which is equivalent to 1,000 Mahayugas. And there is a resting period in between. And then that one Kalpa is 1 day of Brahmaji, Lord Brahma. And 1 night of Brahma is also 1 Kalpa. So that night of Brahma is called a Kalpa Pralayam. So that is also a Pralayam. There are different type of Pralayam at the end of each of this cycle. And then at the end of Brahma's life is the Mahā Pralaya. So 1 Kalpa is day of Brahma, 1 Kalpa is another night of Brahma, and the Brahma's lifespan is 100 Brahma years. So it's a supposition. So for 100 years, there will be a Brahma. And if convert that 100 Brahma years into human years, 311 trillion years. I don't know what that means, but that many human years are the Brahma year. Right? And after this whole thing is ending, Brahma's time is ending, then Mahā Pralayam comes, and that is what is mentioned in the Śloka. Where it is used is that you might have seen during the puja time in temple, before starting the puja, Pujari will do a sankalpam to talk about when is the time. before he comes to your gotra, your nakshatra, your nama and everything, he will start with, okay, what is the yuga, what is the manvantara, kalpa and all that thing. So right now, Brahma is in the middle age. He's about 51 years old. This Brahma that is in this kalpa. So this kalpa is known as Shweta Varaha Kalpa. So next time you do a puja at temple, just listen to the Sankalpa. So he would say Shweta Varaha Kalpa, and it is in the 7th Vaivaswata Manvantara. This Manvantara is known as Vaivaswata Manvantara. And in this Kali Yuga, that is the 28th Chatur Yuga Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga total is 432,000 years, and we are right now in 5,128th year. So that is the Sankalpam of puja, just to make some connections there. So again, these are stories in Bhagavata Purana, but what I want you to take is the essence behind it, right? So everything created has a beginning, everything created has an end, but eternal Shiva doesn't have an end. And we are that Shiva. So we have to change our perspective to think that we are that Shiva. Our normal concept is that we are this body. Inside our body, we have a mind. Inside our mind, we have a consciousness. That is kind of the feeling that we have, but it's the other way around. We talked about Khatakasham, Mahakasham. So we are in that vast space, the eternal space. Space is again a metaphor, not the actual thing to consciousness. So that in that vast consciousness, which is eternal, we exist. Our body, mind, everything is exist within that vast consciousness, right? So we do not end. We as a consciousness, we as eternal Shiva, never has a beginning, never has an end. But we as a body, it will have a beginning and end. It is a normal thing. Just like the waves begin in the ocean and waves go back to ocean, this manifested body has a beginning. One day, Panchatam will happen to this body. It will die, right? So that is how we want to look into the time. One more thing, name Sati. Sati is the way that Devi has been addressed. So what is the significance of Sati? There is a lot of significance that is put in our scriptures for Pativrata. Pativrata is the one who is faithful to husband. So it's not much of a moral side, but also from a spiritual side. So being a Pativrata means a lot of spiritual energy, spiritual Shakti in her, right? And the same thing is Brahmacharya. Brahmacharya for the one who is studying scriptures. The Brahmacharya brings so much of that spiritual energy to that person. So that is what the significance of it. It's not from a moral standpoint, but from a spiritual energy standpoint. So there is a story when Sita was in the Ashokavanam, and Hanuman comes to visit Sita. First he introduced, and then Hanuman goes away to burn Lanka, right? What the Rakshasas come back to Sita and tells that Ravana is setting Hanuman's tail on fire. Then Sita was so in anguish, right? So then she immediately prayed to Lord of Agni. The way that she's prays is an interesting thing. There are 4 verses that she's praying. I'll just say one verse and then the meaning. Yadi asti pati susrusha, yadi asti charitam tapa, yadi cha asti ekapatnitvam, shito bhava hanumanta. What she's saying is that if I have performed service to my husband, if I have undergone penance, she has been doing the penance under that Ashokavanam, if I have undergone penance, and the third thing that she's saying, if I have been a faithful, devoted wife to Rama, Lord Agni, be cool towards Hanuman. So she's using her Padivratya, that spiritual account, to help during this time. If I am all these things, then help me. So which means that she has that much energy within her because she's a Pativrata. So because of that, please cool Hanuman down. Story is that Hanuman never feels that heat of the Agni because Lord of Agni blesses Hanuman's because of the prayer that Sita Devi has made. So that is where that Pativrata concept is coming. And here, Śaṅkarācārya, giving importance to Devi here, is saying that, you know why your Pati is eternal, why nothing happens to your Pati during the Mahā Samharam when everything ceases to exist, because you are the Pativrata. So the word Sati here is showing that devoted wife. So that is the significance of that. Virinchi Panchatvam Prajati Harirapnoti Viratim Vinasham Keenasho Bhajati Dhanado Yati Nidhanam Vitantri Mahendri Vidadadirapi Sammilitadrisha Mahasamharesmin Viharati Sati Tvatpati Rasa. O Sati, devoted consort of Shiva, during the time of great dissolution, Brahma is reduced to the five elements, Vishnu retiring to inactivity, Yama, lord of death, meets his end, Kubera, lord of wealth, loses his riches, and Indra, along with the other gods, become ineffective with half-closed eyes. Yet, your spouse Shiva continues to revel with you even amidst that great dissolution. So that's the summary of that verse.
विरञ्चित् पञ्चत्वं प्रजति हरिराप्नोति विरतिं विनाशं कीनाशो भजति धनदोद्यादिनिधनं विदन्त्री माहेन्द्री विततिरपि सम्मीलितदृशा महासंहारेऽस्मिन् विहरति सदि त्वत्पतिरसौ.
Om Shri Matre Namah. Sarvam Shri Jagadambika Padaravindārpanamastu.